Hello everybody. Well, day 25, but guess what? It's 12:15 p.m. So it's after lunchtime, and even here 10 seconds in, I'm going to be proud of myself for being here, because I've got to tell ya, if I don't get my exercise done in the morning, the first thing, the likelihood that it will happen is extremely low, historically. There have been times like now that I'm committed to my goal and I do it anyway, but gosh, it's so hard. If I had to draw a graph, I don't know what the graph would be. Like, one axis is going to be time, obviously, and the other, motivation. So it's going to be time and motivation, showing that as time passes from the moment I get out of the bed till the end of the day, as time passes, my motivation essentially just is on a downward trajectory until the end of the day when I get back in the bed. So the likelihood of me being here with you right now, well, the likelihood was high because I'm committed to doing this, and also back to the rate of perceived exertion, if I was trying to do an 8 or a 9, jogging, running, whatever, I might not be here. But the fact that I can still get some work done on my computer and I'm walking still at 2.5 miles per hour, that really helped in getting me here. And I'm a morning person. I just historically have always gotten up early in the morning, as I'm sure I've mentioned. So, for me, that's my best time. I used to joke that I could do calculus problems in the morning as soon as I get out of bed, insofar as I could ever actually do calculus problems. And it was true at the time. That's my sharpest time. And then, goes down throughout the day. My son and I were joking, his biorhythms are so different than mine. He's like, I think ideally he'd go to bed at midnight and get up, at 9 in the morning. So it's not like too crazy off of mine, but we've realized that he's not good in the morning. He's sort of dragging mentally, and then I'm not good, around 5. You shouldn't really try to have any conversations with me that require thinking. When I was married, actually, it made it so all my conversations with my husband that were important needed to happen on the weekend, because, by the time you get home from work, my mind is just sort of melting, because at 5. So, anywho, my son and I were joking that we were trying to figure out, okay, what's the cross section of the time of day when I'm still decent to have a conversation, and he has reached a point of being sharp. And so we realize it's probably around noon. That's where we cross over, and then from that point forward, I'm going downhill and he's going uphill, because he'll sometimes, I'll be like getting ready to go to bed at 9, and he'll be like, oh, and he bring up this topic that's, something requires a lot of thought, or it's about politics, or, something that he's, thinking heavily on. And I'm like, okay, man, I can't even think of what you're talking about right now. I can't even comprehend what you're talking about. And then I'll do the same thing to him, especially when he used to still be in high school, and I would drive him to school, and I'm like, blah, 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 asking about things going on at school, or asking about, anything in his life, driving, SAT prep, college, whatever. And he, he's just looking at me like with his eyes glazed over. So anyway, we all have natural biorhythms, and I would encourage you, if you're able to schedule your workouts when you are going to be the most physically as well as mentally energetic and motivated to do them, because that's going to increase the likelihood that you actually do them. So can you do them anyway, like I'm doing today, because you've made a commitment? Sure you can. But gosh, if I continued to do this and not do the workout the first thing in the morning, even if it's easy for me, the actual working out part, even if I'm not pushing myself really hard at this point, just, it's so easy to talk yourself out of it. And then the other piece is I don't really eat in the morning. I get my iced coffee, and then I don't eat anything until around 10:30 or 11, and then I just eat something lunchy. I like some breakfast things once in a while, but I'm not a huge breakfast person, and it's the only time of the day I'm not hungry. So I know they say start your metabolism up, and I probably do that because I put sugar and half and half in my coffee. So I think I'm starting my metabolism up. And historically, when I have been trying to lose weight, I'm never on any program other than counting calories, because that's what I was taught by my mom when she was teaching a diet program in my teenage years. So, I've known the basics of counting calories since I was since 13. So that's the only path I ever take. And so I'm very familiar with, what I'm eating and what the differences are. And, I've tried eating the first thing in the morning. They're like, balance out, your calories throughout the day. I've tried doing that, and I've tried not doing that, and it made zero difference in how much weight I lost as to whether I ate something first thing in the morning or not. Back when I was working out, and if you've exercised, most of your life like I did before this last decade, you've gone through phases. When I first, obviously at college, my college tuition included access to all the gyms on campus, and I can't even remember what took me there in the first place, because I hadn't been into exercise in high school. I wasn't into doing sports. I was not a cheerleader. I had cheerleaded once in 6th grade and didn't like it. One season, and didn't like it. So I'm not even sure. And I had asthma, so I didn't need an inhaler just to breathe on a normal day. But like if we ran the 600, I needed an inhaler. And looking back, I can't remember what the weather was like, but I realized in recent years that it's about running outside in the cold. I can't be outside. My lungs don't function as well in the cold. And so if it was cold, I could certainly need the inhaler. I don't remember I definitely didn't have any asthma attacks after I was 5 or 6. And I don't remember I guess I had an inhaler around, but I don't remember ever using it except for when I ran the 600, which, they make you do for a couple weeks, and then you move on to basketball or whatever next sport they want you to do. Whole point being that I really wasn't into sports or working out. My mom did she even taught. She did jazzercise. She taught jazzercise. She, I don't know what else she did. She did exercises at home when she came home from the hospital with me, because listen to this is horrifying. Her doctor told her that if you gain more than 15 pounds during your pregnancy, I'm going to put you in the hospital and on bed rest. Isn't that ridiculous? And I weighed 8 pounds and 13 ounces. So essentially, whatever that is, 15 minus 8 is 7 minus the 13. So 6 pounds, doing math while walking, 6 pounds, 3 ounces, I think it is. So she was only supposed to gain 6 pounds, 3 ounces of her own body weight. I did really well during my pregnancy. I exercised the entire time, both times I was pregnant, even on my due dates, because body didn't want to have the baby naturally. Those babies just wanted to stay in there. So I was able to exercise on my due dates and still not go into labor. But I gained 29 pounds, and that was eating healthy and exercising at least 4 times a week, So, granted, I probably gained muscle weight because you're carrying all this extra weight and you're having to work so much harder because the baby's stealing everything from you, and so I was probably it might have been, aside from when I got in super good shape around 39, 38, 40, that was probably when I was in the best shape, because I was really working hard to exercise with this daggone baby on board. Anyway, it just shows you how times change. It's quite a ridiculous message to tell somebody only to gain 15 pounds. So the same doctor had her come home from the hospital with a stapled sheet of exercises to do so that she could lose that baby weight, whatever baby weight she would have had there. And so I know, and I obviously just know that from a story because I was a baby, but I know that exercise was always part of her life. I'm not sure how she got into it. She grew up one of 13 children. Well, one died when he was 4 days, so let's just say she was one of 12 children, to a coal mining family who were poor as dirt. And as I've mentioned before, didn't have running water in the house, had outhouses until 1978. So she, at the age of 17, when she graduated, her school taught reading, writing, and the road to Richmond, basically, which is, there are no jobs here for you, get out. That was what she was taught. And thankfully, she followed that advice and moved to Richmond, which was a city in the capital of Virginia, and had jobs at the telephone company, and she became a telephone operator. So I'm not sure where in this whole process she started to exercise, but she essentially was a very active person her whole life. But she never really mentioned to me that I should be exercising. But back when I was growing up, we would come home from school and go right back out the door to play. We were just allowed to run free, and we didn't have computers until I actually did have a computer in 1978. My dad got one of the first computers that was out, which is unusual because he spent money on nothing. So college education he spent money on, and no vacations. We didn't go on vacation, we didn't eat out, but he knew from his work that computers were the wave of the future, and so he did buy us a computer, and we did spend time on it, but there was still a lot to do around the neighborhood. Riding bikes and just roller skating down the street and playing tag and flashlight tag with your friends and climbing trees. There's just a lot of activity, just physical activity back then for kids that not so many get right now. But I think that was just the way that we got exercise then. Then I went to college, somehow found a gym and started working out, and that remained a part of my life, so I think, I apologize for all the tangents I go on. Who knows how I get to the points that I'm trying to get to, and I think if I really went back and listened, I probably rarely do get to the point I'm trying to get to, but nonetheless, I got it. It's motivation, time of day. So I've had several phases in my life. One was at school where I exercised in the gyms there. And I know there were times I didn't exercise because I remember I definitely gained the freshman 15, if not more. I think at one time I was probably, I think I probably gained 20 pounds, so I probably wasn't exercising then. But in any case, exercise has pretty much been a part of my life for decades before the most recent decade. And I've lived in different cities because I've wanted different experiences. I wanted to move away from Richmond. I went to college away, but then I came back for a job, and then I wanted to be transferred anywhere in the country. I just wanted to go, right? So I remember when I was in Richmond for my first job, trying to think, I think there were no, maybe not. I think during that time, it was only a year and a half, I was at my first job at this company, and I remember going to a gym really close by. Like, my apartment was near my grocery store, was near my gym, was near my work. It was just such happy hours were close by. It was just such there were other things you could and I did go to, but everything was so easy. Like, unlike now, I mean, no responsibilities besides myself. Renting, so I was paying rent. I was getting a great salary. Well, not great salary. Let's take that back. I was getting enough salary to support myself without stress. My things were so close, I was able to leave work during lunch hour, go get my groceries, take them back and drop them at my apartment, and come back to work all in an hour. There was a local park. Sometimes I would take a break during my lunch or for my lunch and go over to the park and be able to sit and be peaceful. And the whole point is the gym, my gym. At that time, I remember doing some classes, but I also was doing weight machines, and that was after work. So I managed to, during that time, I both did some workouts after work, some workouts before work. Not during the same phase, though. I think it all depended on what was going on in my life that was occupying me during different parts of the day. But there have been times that I've worked out after work. And I don't remember then it taking as much motivation as it would now for me after work. However, when I wanted to transfer with them, I went to St. Louis, Missouri, and still working with the same company. And I remember working out after work then. And I also remember when I got a different job, stayed in St. Louis, but got a job with a different company. And I remember making sure that I chose a job that was between home and work. What I did not want to do, and I was still working out after work, what I did not want to do is have to drive past my home, leave work, drive past my home to get to the gym. So it sounds so minor, but when you're dealing with human motivation, that could be enough to make you not go. Just like for me, not doing this until 12 today could be enough to make me not do it. And the hard part is, maybe not everyone's this way, but many people are, just like me. If you miss one, it becomes so much easier to miss the next one. And you would think it should be motivating to say, hey, I missed yesterday, no way am I going to let myself miss again. I don't know, that's not the way it works for me. It just becomes so much easier. So all that to say that I will try very diligently not to have such a late start, and it's not even the time, I will try diligently to make this be the first thing I do every day, not even the second thing. I guess it's after iced coffee, but that's about it. But the reason it happened today, because sometime yesterday I was exposed to something. I think I must be allergic to something that's in the environment right now, because I took my kids to their dad's house and to drop them off, and I felt fine. And then once I was back, I didn't feel fine. And all I had done was walk outside, go to my car, drive them, and drop them off. I didn't even get out of the car again until I got back to my house. So I think there must be something out there. So I had yesterday just a fuzzy head, a small headache, not enough to take something for, a dizziness, like a stuffiness, not a stuffiness, but I don't know, enough to distract me from actually being able to think very clearly and not feel good, feel really drained. So I didn't get much done yesterday. And so I woke up this morning sort of feeling the same way, except for a little bit of a headache added on. And I thought, well, I'm going to just get up and move around the house and get some stuff done before I do the walking on the treadmill. And I consciously had that thought, but then I also did something else, which I knew was going to contribute to me staying away from the treadmill longer, which was I didn't put on my workout clothes. I put on normal clothes. But I just didn't feel well. I wasn't convinced that I was going to blow this thing off entirely. I wasn't thinking that at all. But I was definitely thinking, I don't see myself getting on the treadmill in the next hour or two. I just didn't feel good. I didn't think I would injure myself. I wasn't dizzy. It's just stuffy-headed feeling. I don't even know how to describe it. One day I will go to the allergist and have all those needles put in me to figure out what I'm allergic to, because it's enough that it sort of ruins my day. and it detracts from me getting good things done, whether it's work or personal stuff. So anyway, I put on normal clothes. I came downstairs. I did a lot. I didn't sit down. I kept, doing things around my kitchen. I cleaned out my refrigerator, and because typically I would have done that yesterday. So I cleaned out my refrigerator and threw away stuff that needed to go away, which I do at the end of the weekend usually, so I can buy all new stuff and do meal preps and all that good stuff. So I did that, and that of course creates dirty dishes from the storage containers they were in. So I cleaned all those up, took out the trash and recycling, put away some laundry that had been hanging, because a lot of things I wash I hang to dry, because I don't want them to shrink, or because the fabrics, like workout stuff that they're made from, degrade if you put them in a hot dryer. So I did that, cleaned the bathroom, made a Greek pasta salad, which, if I'm watching my weight, if I'm watching my intake of food, pasta is not a good choice, really. I like pasta a lot, but I don't love it. Like, it's not that thing that I can't resist. The only reason I did it is because I had some leftover pasta and I didn't want to waste it, which is stupid. But, and that's the only way I was going to use it, really, is in a pasta salad, because my kids had gone to their dad's and I'd had it for pasta with meat sauce for them. And so once that was done, I had this leftover pasta. So if I were watching what I was eating, I think I would have to just bite the bullet and throw it away, which the way I was brought up triggers me, but it's not that expensive. So anyway, since I'm not watching my food yet, or not cutting my food yet, I went ahead and made a pasta salad, Greek one, and I look forward to eating that for lunch after this. I made sure I did not eat it, but I did taste it, because it's one of those things that I don't use measurements, and so I wanted to taste it to make sure it was turning out right and I didn't need to add or whatever something, but I made sure I didn't sit down to eat it, because that would be the end of the end. I think had I sat down either to eat or to start working on a project on my computer, I hope I would have come to the treadmill, but why add all these extra layers of more and more and more motivation that you need to get it done? It's better to build your routine around your normal, your best schedule, to make it so that you're not having to apply so much discipline to it, right? You just make your decision, you make your commitment, you make your decision about how you're going to do it. You do it that way that works for you, and if it's not working for you, tweak it, but pretty much stick to that, because when you don't stick to it, then you're having to kick yourself, to get yourself going, to get yourself to do the thing that you committed to, and then if you don't do it, you feel bad. Then, like I mentioned, for me at least, the next day, it's even easier not to do it. So, all that to say, just, if you miss a day, just really, really, really try to get yourself back on track the next day, because it's like a snowball, rolling down a hill. It just gets harder and harder. And if you are doing great, you're not missing a day, then I'd say your system's probably working pretty well for you, and try to stick with it as much as you can. I, for one, will definitely be back on here early in the morning tomorrow, or at the very least, quote unquote early, but just at the very least, the first thing I'm doing for my day, I will be back here on the treadmill, because I just can't afford to, to have this drop off. It's working for me. I want to keep it up. So I guess that's all for today. I hope that you're having a great day, or you had a great day. You're proud of yourself for what you've done. You're looking forward to tomorrow. If today was your day that you fell off your path it's okay, just you're going to sleep it off and get up tomorrow and start fresh. If there's a reason you fell off your path, that is some sort of tweak you can make, go ahead and make that tweak today in your mind of how you're going to proceed starting tomorrow, so that there's no question tomorrow. Don't give yourself a lot of decision points. I think of the word decision as like, I'm going to make a decision that this is my goal and these are the things I'm going to do to get that goal. So that's my decision, and that's what I'm going to commit to, right? I'm going to commit to this process of these things to get that goal. So then you don't want to give yourself individual choices like, every day you say, well, I'll figure out where I'm going to fit in my walk. Each day I'll figure it out. That's just one more place that you can make a choice that is not going to serve you towards reaching that goal. Not everybody's the same, but I'm speaking to me and to many people that I've worked with and that I've known, just friends. The more choices you give yourself, or the more choice points that you give yourself, the more likelihood that you are going to make a choice that's not getting you closer to your goal. So back to the whole concept of Kaizen, better to have a smaller goal that you can stick to consistently. And consistently doesn't have to be every day. It just has to be consistent enough to lead toward the outcome that you want. And so whatever consistency is required to hit that, you got to work it into your schedule and know when it's going to happen, so that it becomes like a yes-no question. I said I'm going to do this every day. Did I do it? Yes or no? That's pretty clear, right? So if I give myself choice points throughout the day, like, well, I'll figure out when I'm going to work it into the day. For me, I will miss it far more frequently than I am now when I say it's going to be the first thing I do. The end, period. Right? So wherever you're at now is completely fine, because guess what? You're a human being, and we're all flawed people who learn, hopefully, every day how to do things better, and we make missteps, and we make mistakes, and we take detours to get to where we want to go, and all that's okay. Like, feeling bad about that, or shame, or guilt, or, having our self-worth take a hit for it really gets us nowhere. So no reason to do that. Just give yourself realistic goals that you can stick with consistently, whether that's every day, every 2 days, whatever it is. And when you make changes, like I always say, if you've made a positive choice to make a change and you've done that and you miss a day, guess what? You've done it way more than you would have before you ever made this choice to make the change, right? So you're still better off. It's just that when we don't measure things, we don't necessarily see that. But if you can track things and you can look back and say, well, in my case, this is day 25. So, okay, well, 26 days ago, I wasn't doing a walk for an hour every day, right? And now I am. So, yay for me, right? That's what I want for you. I want you to be able to say yay for me at the end of every day, right? So that's what I wish you today, and I will talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.